History is full of amazing stories, adventures, and thousands of years of male dominance. As a result, women wishing to breach their normal positions in families and society have had to go to extraordinary lengths to make their mark. Over the centuries, numerous women chose to pass themselves off as a man. This was often done to enter typically male-only fields, or because was required to serve in the military. Whatever their individual reasons, these amazing women all did great things, and they did it all while the men around them thought they were just one of the guys. She was born to a prominent family but ended up in indentured service by the age of 10. Once this was completed, the self-educated descendant of prominent pilgrims worked as a teacher and weaver. Samson led 30 infantrymen into combat and captured 15 men. At Yorktown, she dug trenches and fought with her unit. Samson hid her gender for almost 2 years, even going so far as to dig a pistol ball from her thigh to avoid the medical tent. Ultimately, her truth was discovered when an infection rendered her unconscious. She was given an honorable discharge and returned to Massachusetts, where she married and had 3 children. Massachusetts gave Samson a military pension, making her the only woman to receive a pension for service during the Revolutionary War. After her death, her husband petitioned the state for a continuation of her pension as her spouse. Massachusetts ultimately agreed, saying the conflict furnished no other similar example of female heroism, fidelity, and courage. 9 Christian, Kit Kavanagh's secret and search for her husband Christian Davies was born in Ireland in 1667, and she became the proprietor of a pub, Whi. She married a man named Richard Welsh, and the couple had 2 children, but when she was pregnant with their 3rd child, Richard disappeared. This happened in 1691, and it turned out that her husband was impressed into the British Army, which she learned when she received a letter explaining his situation. Intent on finding her husband, Christian gave her children to her mother, cut her hair, and dressed as a man. In 1693, she joined the British Army under the name Christopher Welch. Christian fought at the Battle of Landen, where she was wounded and captured. She was returned via a prisoner exchange, and her disguise remained intact. She killed another soldier in a duel over a woman, was discharged, and then re-enlisted in the 2nd Royal North British Dragoons. She fought in many campaigns and was finally discovered to be a woman when she was wounded. Once the news broke, her commander brought her husband back, reuniting the couple after a 13-year separation. She was given a pension and remained with her unit, which knew her as Mother Ross. When she passed in 1739, she was given full military honors. She found that her husband was executed for murder, so she joined the 6th Regiment of Foot in the Duke of Cumberland's army. She didn't stay for long and ended up deserting to Portsmouth, where she joined the Royal Marines. In June of 1749, Snell was wounded 11 times, with 1 round hitting her groin. She asked a local woman to remove the bullet to avoid detection. The following year, she revealed her sex to her fellow shipmates and petitioned the Duke for a military pension. This was granted despite her gender, and it was even increased years later. Snell sold her story to a London publisher, who printed her tale in The Female Soldier. She took her story to the stage and gained some fame for her exploits. Eventually, she retired to East London, where she established a pub called The Widow in Masquerade. She disguised herself as a boy and joined the crew of the frigate La Cornelli. While serving aboard the ship, she maintained her guise as a boy. After a decade, she was wounded during the Napoleonic Wars. Antonini was taken prisoner and was interned for 18 months until a treaty was signed between France and Britain. Once released, she returned to France, where she joined the French army. Continuing to disguise herself as a male, she served in the French army for 15 years, achieving the rank of sergeant. She was wounded numerous times throughout her service. Eventually, a severe injury to her head while serving in the French occupation of Portugal ended her military career. Throughout her 25-plus years in the Navy and Army, her sex was never revealed. After she left the Army, Antonini worked at a brick factory. When she was 70 years old, she was honored with a St. Helena Medal, the first French campaign medal established by Napoleon I. There is a street named in her honor in the French city of Nantes. 6. Charlotte D. Parkhurst, Blazing the West. Series continues with the story of Charlie Parkhurst. Charlotte D. Parkhurst was born in Vermont in 1812 to a small family, which got even smaller when both parents and her brother passed away. She was placed in an orphanage soon after birth, where she remained until she was 12. At that time, she ran away and started going by the name Charlie. Charlie wound up in Rhode Island under the care of Ebenezer Balch, who raised him like a son. It was under Balch's tutelage that Charlie learned the art of stagecoach driving. By the time Parkhurst was 30, he made his way to California to find work during the gold rush, and shortly after arriving, Charlie lost an eye to a horse's kick to the head. Despite the injury, and the one-eyed Charlie nickname, Charlie became one of the top drivers of his day. Stagecoach driving was a hazardous occupation, thanks to the lack of roads, the prevalence of bandits, and the harsh weather. Hauling gold through the Great Stage Route from San Jose to San Juan and Santa Cruz was harsh, but Charlie became famous for his daring exploits and professionalism. He became known as the boss of the road. He retired after a long career and passed away at the age of 67 in 1879. It was in death that Charlie's sex was finally discovered, having lived nearly his entire life as a man. 5. Marina. The monk Marina was born to a wealthy Christian family in the 5th century. After her mother died, she was raised as a devout Christian by her father, who planned to marry her off when she was of age. Thanks to Listverse, where I can find new articles and share with you here. Source link is in description. Go and check it out.